Let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and the council assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, welfare of our country and of those whose interest we have committed to our church. Amen. Madam Clerk, could you please take us to the order paper of today?
Order paper number 213 of today, Wednesday, 7th August 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Honorable members, it is statement time. Next order. Honorable Nereo Kombo, could you please approach the chair? Just get seated, please. Next order, Madam Clerk.
Commencement of business. Order number 8, motion. Adoption of a report of the liaison committee on consideration of half-yearly progress reports of committees for the period ended 30th June 2024.
Yes. Madam Deputy Speaker, Honorable Nereo Kombo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and honorable members, orders number 1821 compels each committee to submit half-yearly progress reports to the liaison committee. Consequently, orders number 1832 mandates the committee on liaison to within 21 days compile such reports and submit to the assembly. This report, Madam Speaker and honorable members, is therefore a compilation of reports as was submitted analysis and presentation of general performance of committees during the period ended 30th June 2024, and finally presented in fulfillment of the requirement of orders 183.1 and 2 of the County Assembly standing orders. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, honorable members, from the report submitted, the liaison committee established that during the period under review, the committee workload was as follows: that a total number of 29 papers were submitted to the County Assembly and assigned to various committees as per their mandates. During this period, the PICPA committee had the most papers committed to it. See table 3. This period recorded more papers compared to the previous period, and the analysis is there in table number 13. The motions, 9 motions were moved on the floor of the House. Out of these, 5 were procedural and 4 were member-sponsored. This period recorded the highest number of member-sponsored motions so far in the Third Assembly. Madam Speaker and honorable members, there were 2 petitions were referred to the Committee on JILAC, as shown in table 5. One was completed, with the other remained pending as at the end of period under review. The policies, Madam Speaker, we did not have any policy during this period. There were 12 statements requested during that period. 1 was responded to on the floor, and the rest remained pending before various committees, as shown in table 9. Under bills and legislations, there were 2 bills introduced to the Assembly, all of which were procedural. The bills were dealt with with the completion Madam Speaker, honorable members, 2 bills were introduced and were dealt with to completion. See table 7. On reports, a total of 51 reports were tabled by various committees. 48 of these reports were debated and voted upon, while 3 were reports originating from petitions that were not debated, pursuant to the provisions of the standing orders as shown in tables 8, 9, and 10. Madam Speaker, we have a comparative analysis of performance that is between the first half, that is between period ended 31st December 2023, and the second half, which is the period ended 30th June 2024. And Mr. Speaker, that analysis is shown in table 12. During the first half, liaison committee had presented 2 reports. During the second half, there was 1 report from the liaison committee. Honorable members, I believe we went through the report, and so I don't see why I should go per committee, but the analysis is there shown in table 12. And observation on that, we noted, Madam Speaker and honorable members, that most committees performed better in the second half of the financial year than during the first half. And Madam Speaker, the overall legislative performance of the County Assembly between that period ended 31st December 2023 and 30th June 2024 is shown in table 13, where we had, in the first half, we had 21 papers presented, and in the second half, we had 29 papers presented, giving us a positive variance of 8 papers. We had, in the first half, 3 motions. That is period ended 31st December 2023. But in the second half, period ending 30th June 2024, we had 9 motions, giving a positive variance of 6. During the first half, we had 12 statements, and the same number was also issued in the second half, giving no variance. We had 31 reports in the first half. In the second half, we had 54 reports presented on the floor of the House, giving a positive variance of 23. We had 6 bills in the first half. Second half, we only had 2 bills, giving a negative variance of 4. We had 3 petitions in the first half. Second half, we had 2 bills, giving a negative variance of 1. We had 2 policies in the first half, and none in the second half, giving a negative variance of 2. So the observation under this period, Madam Speaker, is that there was an improvement in terms of reports tabled with the 23 reports, more than the first half of the financial year. The comparative analysis of performance of committee and the county assembly between the financial year 2022-2023 and the 22-2024 is also shown in table 14. And Madam Speaker, I know the members had gone through it. So our observation as a committee is that 8 committees improved under the period with a positive variance of 6. We had 6 negative variances recorded, while the rest remained constant. Madam Speaker, table 16 gives a comparative performance of committees. That is the number of committees held by committees during the financial year 2023-2024 against the output. Liaison committee had 32 sittings and submitted, and the output was 3 reports. The budget committee had 42 sittings. They submitted 6 reports. The medical services, public health and sanitation committee had 27 sittings with an output of 10 reports. The education committee did not indicate the number of sittings they had, but they submitted 4 reports. PICPAC had 28 sittings, submitted 15 reports. JLAC did not indicate the number of sittings they had, but they submitted 4 reports. Labor, Social Welfare Services Committee had 34 sittings with an output of 5 reports. The Agriculture, Fisheries, Livestock and Development Education Committee had 36 committee sittings that gave an output of 3 reports. Water, Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change had 30 sittings with an output of 3 reports. Trade, Tourism, Industry and Marketing had 50 sittings with an output of 3 reports. Sports, Culture, Gender and Youth Affairs had 38 sittings that gave birth to 1 report. Procedure and Rules had 10 sittings, gave 1 report. Selection, 11 sittings, 2 reports. Delegated County Legislations, 21 sittings with an output of 2 reports. Lands, Housing, Physical Planning, Urban Development had 44 sittings with 4 reports. House Business, 49 sittings, giving 0 reports according to the nature of their mandate. So that one is understandable. Infrastructure, Energy, Public Works had 31 sittings, gave us 1 report. Finance and ICT had 25 sittings, 3 reports. Implementation had 23 sittings, gave 5 reports. Powers and Privileges had 20 sittings with 1 report. Welfare and Equal Opportunities had 20 sittings with 1 report. Appointments had 34 sittings with 2 reports. Ward Development had 26 sittings and gave birth to 1 report. This analysis, Madam Speaker, honorable members, established that committee registered a high number of sittings during the reporting period. However, the output per committee is still very low. It is noted that resources were allocated for committee sittings with very corresponding low output. Madam Speaker and all members, the overall legislative performance of the County Assembly between the 2 financial years is also shared in table number 15. That is, for the financial year 2022-23, we had 39 papers. The last financial year, that is 2023-2024, had 50 papers with a positive variance of 11. In the 2022-2023 financial year, we had 11 motions. 2022-2024, we had 12 motions, giving a positive variance of 1. 2022-2023, we had 35 motions. And 2023-2024, we had 24 statements, giving a negative variance of 11. In the financial year 2022-2023, we had 48 reports. 2023-2024, we had 85 reports, giving a positive variance of 37. We had 5 bills in the financial year 2022-2023, with 8 in 2023-2024, a positive variance of 3, while it remained constant in petitions and policies. That is, financial year 2022-2023 gave 5 petitions, and the same in 2023-2024. Policies were 2, and 2023-2024 also remained 2. So it remained constant. So the observation therein was that massive improvement in terms of output and a decline in statements sought. We have also, honorable members, at table 17, which shows the number of pending businesses before our committees, that as at the end of the period under review, 49 it is mistaken, 57, but it's 49 businesses remained pending before various committees, as shown in table 17. And Madam Speaker, the committee observed some challenges that in attempt to come up with in attempting to come up with and present this report, the following are the challenges that the committee continues to face. Number 1, untimely submission of reports to liaison committee. The County Assembly's smooth operation relies heavily on timely reporting, and unfortunately, persistent delays in report submission has become a recurring issue. There was also the issue of incorrect data, that some committees presented a date that is inaccurate. For example, the period under review is between 1st January 2024 to 30th June 2024, but you find committees providing dates for, say, November 2024. Another one was insufficient data that do not establish the total number of sittings held, such as was realized with the Committee on Education and JILAC. So we had a number of recommendations as a committee that the County Assembly should invest in the continuous training of committee clerks with focus on the principle of comprehensive parliamentary reporting, data collection, accurate record keeping, and importance of timely, accurate, sufficient, and precise report submissions, among others. By equipping committee clerks with these skills, the County Assembly can ensure that all reports are thorough, reliable, and reflective of the true activities within each committee. Number 2, that to sustain and further encourage the improvement of number of sponsored motions, the County Assembly should create a platform for members to receive reports and guidance in drafting and performing their motions. Additionally, establishing a mentorship program where experienced members can guide new members on procedural matters, which could be beneficial. Number 3, that to maintain reporting momentum, committees should adopt a more systematic approach to report preparation and presentation, including setting clear deadlines and ensuring thorough reviews before submission. Number 4, that committees should implement structured work plan with clear defined objectives and timelines for each committee to enhance productivity. Number 5, that to reduce the disparity between the number of sittings and output, Committee should adopt performance metrics to evaluate each effectiveness and identify areas of improvement. And finally, that to reduce the pending businesses, the County Assembly should implement a backlog reduction strategy, which could involve prioritizing and fast-tracking high-impact items and or redistributing workloads among committees. Madam Speaker and honorable members, the committee wishes to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of the Kisumu County Assembly for support according to each towards the fulfillment of its mandate. It also recognizes and appreciates the commitment and valuable contribution that its honorable members exercised during the sitting to deliberate on various elements of this report, not forgetting its secretariats for the exemplary performance in providing the needed technical support. Madam Speaker and honorable members, it is therefore my honor to move, and on behalf of liaison committee members, move that this House adopts this report of the liaison committee on its consideration of half-yearly progress reports for the period ended 30th June 2024, and I would wish to request Honorable Seth Okumu to second.
Yes, Honorable Seth Okumu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to rise and second the adoption of this half-yearly progress report of committees for the period ended 30th June 2024. Madam Speaker, this is a reflection of what the committees have done for the past 6 months, ending June. Madam Speaker, everybody questions, does this assembly do any work? Madam Speaker, how I wish this report would be listened to by those who are asking the same questions, so that they know how many papers have been brought before this House, courtesy of committees, how many motions have been brought before this House, courtesy of these committees, how many statements, reports, bills, petitions, and policies. Madam Speaker, as the chair has mentioned, that the numbers are speaking, but we want to agree that this should be better than what we have done currently. Madam Speaker, I want to applaud those committees that have been able to bring bills in this House that impact in the lives of the people of Kisumu. Madam Speaker, I have listened to a comparison, which, Madam Speaker, shouldn't be the case, of the reports brought before the House and number of sittings of the committee. Madam Speaker, I give an example with House business. The mandate of the committee is to schedule what is being discussed in the House. And if anybody was to go with the number of sittings they had with the report that they brought, then it would be misleading that they brought no report. But they are the committee mandated to sit and discuss and agree on the discussions we have in the floor of this House, including the report that we are discussing today. Madam Speaker, I'm also comparing the Committee on Health and Sanitation. Madam Speaker, we had a visit to several facilities, and it took so many days for us to see facilities all the way from Southeast Nyakach, Southwest Nyakach, Seme, North Kisumu. Madam Speaker, we spent close to 10 days visiting these facilities, but all those travels can only bring one report in the House. So, Madam Speaker, I would want it not to go that the number of sittings should match the number of reports in this House. But, Madam Speaker, what we are mandated to do as a House, that everybody knows, is legislation. And they also always summarize our functions as 3: legislation, oversight, and representation. Madam Speaker, if you look at the reports that we are having in this assembly, they focus so much on oversight. If you see the reports that have been brought in this house by Public Accounts and Investment, Accounts and Investment Committee, there are reports that tend to focus so much on oversight. Madam Speaker, I want to implore on members that this has made the legislative function lag behind. And moving forward, we want to agree that different committees should see onto the gaps that we are having in the departments that we can legislate on. Madam Speaker, we are having so many bills that have been passed in this assembly that still lack regulations that also need to be worked on. So, Madam Speaker, this report is a pointer on what is still missing that we need to work on the gaps that we have as a house, and also tells us how we are going to plan for the next financial year. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the adoption of this report. Thank you.
Honorable members, now that a motion on adoption of the report of Liaison Committee on consideration of a half-yearly report of the committees for the period ended 30th June 2024 has been presented and seconded, I want to propose a question, and I propose the motion on adoption of the report of Liaison Committee on consideration of a half-yearly reports of committees for the period ended 30th June 2024 is open for debate. Yes, Honorable Nyauke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish also to stand to support the adoption of this report, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this report is showing us a lot of things that has taken place in the last 6 months, Madam Speaker. If I address myself to chapter 3, that is regarding the performance in the financial year 2023-2024. You look at that table, you can see how much sittings that each committee has been able to hold, and subsequently, how many reports that they have been also able to present to this House, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this we wouldn't have been able to know if this report was not brought in this House. Madam Speaker, the only little thing that I've noted in that table is one of our serious committee, that is Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services. Madam Speaker, I was actually expecting to know how many sittings they have had in that particular part of the year, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, it has not been indicated. I don't know whether they sat so many times or they didn't sit at all. Nevertheless, at least they have reports, about 4 reports that presented. The same to Administration of Law, Justice, Constitutional Affairs, Good Governance and Security. They have also not indicated how many sittings they have. Madam Speaker, that comparative table is of very good use, and that is why you see other committees have indicated exactly how many sittings, because this one now will be able to guide us moving forward.
On a point of information, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Okumu. First, Honorable Nyauke, do you want to be informed?
Madam Speaker, I think it is right, because maybe he has noted something that he needs to inform the House following what I've just noticed, Madam Speaker. So I'm ready for him to inform the House.
Okay, Honorable Seth, proceed.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to inform my brother, the Honorable Tom Nyauke, whom I respect so much, that yes, we did meet as a committee, and that's how we were able to process bills and also bring reports to the House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I also did say the same, what he's just repeating, that I've seen that they did give us some reports, despite the fact that they have omitted to indicate how many times did they meet, only 2 times or 3 times, just the same way other committees have indicated, Madam Speaker. I have no quarrel about that. He's saying 4 times, Madam Speaker. I think that is also what he needed to have told us. Madam Speaker, then I move to proposed budget estimates for committees. Madam Speaker, we have also looked at this report on the proposed budget estimates of committees, for committees. We have seen the previous challenges on what we have. Like, there are certain committees that really have a lot of work, or probably they are required to sit several times, but the financial allocations to help them do their mandate, Madam Speaker, has been always very low, Madam Speaker. I can remember for those last 6 months, we have had a situation where the implementation committee, I'm not a member, but I do listen to their challenges, Madam Speaker, that the allocation of funds that they are supposed to be using, or the allocation that has been given to them, Madam Speaker, is below what is expected of them to do, Madam Speaker. And I think this report now should be used as we are going forward, should be used to gauge exactly how much could be required per each committee to make them perform what they are supposed to do. Madam Speaker, that also applies to the PICPAC committee, which are actually required by demand of this House to be producing and even tabling lots of reports that we are doing through oversight, Madam Speaker. You find, as I can see, they're almost lagging behind, like almost the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th. But possibly, like PICPAC, should have been, I think, the top 2 in terms of proper allocation of funds, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I propose, or I support the adoption of this report so that we are able to use it for further amendments or changes that we require to have to make these committees perform their duties as required by our standing orders. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to support.
Yes, Honorable Hemi Loginga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I'd like to support this report. First of all, I'd like to commend all the committees for the good work that they're doing, because if you look at the report and look at the comparison on performance on the 2 financial years that we've covered so far, most of the committees actually you see have positive variance, which means that we have improvement in most of the committees in their performances. This is a good sign, although I would like to encourage the committees with the negative variances to pull up their socks and actually be able to do something much better as we begin this new financial year. Madam Speaker, as I look at some of the, actually before I look at the challenges, but Madam Speaker, my worry is that we really need to do something about our implementation committee. Because without the committee following up on the work, then the House will actually look like we're doing nothing. Because you find that most committees will eventually, as we move forward, will get discouraged from making recommendations in the House, because at the end of the day, you make recommendations, but nothing is done. If you look at some of the challenges cited in this report, Madam Speaker, one of them actually is that actually caught my eye is on the legal gaps in enforcing the House resolutions for county executive for non-implementation. Madam Speaker, as you know, one of our key mandates is on legislation. So this having been noted as a challenge, then I think the ball is in our court again. We need to work around on how to enforce this in order for us to have all these recommendations from the committees, from the various committees implemented in the right way so that we can actually look like we are doing, because at the end of the day, we might be having very good recommendations and very good reports brought to the floor of the House, but with nothing being done, then we're not really doing anything. If you look at it, we are already in the third financial year, beginning the third financial year. So I think we really need to move fast and have a legislation to push on this so that we can be able to see results from some of our very good recommendations. Otherwise, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I second this report. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Orara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In a way, worried a bit because I don't see the relationship with the working of the committee, the money allocation, money allocated, and how you can gauge and say that this committee actually has succeeded in one way or another. I was trying to look at the table, trying to give us the number of sittings held by committees and reports tabled. I don't know if some reports are just being rushed to the assembly, and if to some extent they also have an impact on what we are doing in the ground. We know that there are other committees within the assembly that work within the perimeters of the assembly, and the report is to the effective running of the assembly. But we have other important sectoral committees that are supposed to be seen, and the reports indicate actually what is happening on the ground. It is unfortunate that when I announce it, maybe it might not look good, but I will expect next time to see many reports by one of the committee here about infrastructure, public works, energy, the one with 31 sittings and one report. If you look at one of the areas that have a lot of impact on the ground among the electorates, one of the serious committee is that infrastructure, that of health, that of education, and if you look at the number of reports held, should show you what we expect to see from committees. Yes, we know there are other some committees that tends to be light in weight and does not have a lot of things happening in them, but there are other committees we expect to see a lot and a lot of reports. There's this fallacy that you want to enter into, assuming that implementation committee should always be following upon every deliberation. Each and every committee has a responsibility, and especially sectoral, to follow up on implementation and to give status, even if they focus on a sub-county level, so that in many ways we can see a report trying to give us the confidence of the people in the ground. Recently, I applauded the Committee of Health and the work they did by going through the health centers around, which was a good show. And I know soon when they will be sitting, they'll have a report to indicate what they did. Getting to know information is the best way to also inform the public that actually we are working. Today, I cannot explain to many of my electorates, and I believe many members cannot explain to electorates how the process of implementing the roads they want is done. Some and majority of the citizens believe that the MCA has the key, and it is the MCA delaying the process of implementing the roads or not doing the roads actually. But the problem comes because of lack of information. So we expect committees to be doing more work and even getting time to share their reports, their research, their whatever they have undertaken, even through mass media like radio, so that people can get information and see that the assembly is actually working. There are some committees, I believe, if well engaged, will make the public know that actually so-and-so is the chair of this committee within the county. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that the liaison did their work. The report is given. I was only worried when looking at the allocation in terms of the committees, but since the chairs had accepted those allocation, to some extent, some committees look so much inferior. Even if selection was to do, maybe allocating members to certain committees, you will wonder why some committees are only given 2 million that cannot even help them do a lot of things. And I think it should be fair. And that's why majority will always run to be in budget and appropriation because of the allocation, followed by the pick and pack, which tend to have a good allocation. So in future, Madam Speaker, let the chairs of these committees complain of having little resources to conduct their activities. But because they don't have activities to be conducted, then that's why pick and pack and budget becomes core, and they're given allocation. You look at the membership of pick and pack, there are around 6 members or 7. And you look at the money given within one financial year, and the lot of work they have a total of 5 million. So if you compare, you'll realize that they will tend to attract many members to those committees, and other committees will continue dwindling and being irrelevant to an extent that even giving a report will be a problem. So, way forward, I support the report by the chair of liaison. It is a good way to engage the committees, but not the best way to judge the performance of the committee.
Yes, Honorable Benio Ikopete.
Madam Speaker, I also want to give a little contribution of mine on this report. Madam Speaker, this report indicates how this House works, because this House relies on the reports of the committees. That is what makes it have its sittings. If the reports from the committees are not there, we shall not be having plenary. So this is a very crucial report for this House to handle. And as usual, Madam Speaker and the House, this is a report that when it comes to the House the way it has come today, we should have seen our leaders seated in this House to get first-hand information of the challenges the committees face, what comes to the House, the resolutions, how meaningful and how relevant they are to Kisumu County. But as usual, that never happens. Like now, when you look at the House, the key leadership of the House is not there. And when you are discussing the work of the committees, and you look at the challenges they say that are tabulated here, they are not challenges that should not just be said for the sake of it. They are challenges that will need decision-making at some particular time to improve the work of the committees and improve on the plenary. Because when the committees work, meet a lot of challenges, the plenary will not be effective, and we shall not be seen as a serious lot, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, that is the position where we are. Madam Speaker, when we look at page 124, I want to just dwell on the challenges. Page 124. The challenges as stipulated here is late submission of responses from the executive. The committee is crying that the executive is not responding in good time when matters are raised to them. And this is a problem that is found in most of the assemblies. So the assembly is to discuss what actions should they take against the executive so that the response needed from them is got in good time to make us move. And that is not just a mere decision to be taken, Madam Speaker. That is a matter that when it comes up, we need our seniors also to give their contribution, to see the direction, what could delay the committees, what could hamper our work. Very critical. Because when the executive is not very responsive, we should not just take it for granted. Because most of the matters that we get, that we interrogate, at the end of it, we turn to the executive for answers. And when they take this for granted, our work will be hampered, Madam Speaker. Another challenge, Madam Speaker, is the inadequate funding for the committees. When the committees don't get enough funding, by any sense, the work will not move smoothly. And what do we do on this at the time of budgeting? And what is the leadership doing to help on this? Or is it a story we shall be singing from time to time? Because when the committees are not properly funded, the reports will not reach the floor of this House. And this House will not get good business to discuss. So this matter of inadequate funding is a big matter that needs to be addressed by this House. We should not just read it, that it is in the report. We should digest it. What is this? Because we know the kind of allocation being given to the committees. And we know the number of reports that come. For example, Big Park has been mentioned here. It has a number of work to do. And report writing cannot be done in this assembly. They need to go to a safe place where they will be confined to write their report. And when the funding is inadequate, they will not do their work effectively. So that calls for this, which I know is coming either tomorrow or next week, the allocation for the committees. Are we going to just discuss it for the sake of it? And when the allocation was being given to the committees, what factors were considered? This is a very important matter that members should not just take for granted. And the third one, legal gaps in enforcing the House resolutions for county executive for non-implementation. We know the executive fails to implement a number of matters. What can the assembly do when this happens? These are now the matters that we need to sit down and interrogate and find. Because we may reach a time where the executive will fail us. And once the executive has failed us, the failure will be on us as the representative of the people. Because what happens, the electorate only know two people, the MCA and the governor. And the person who is blamed for the failure is the MCA. So let us be serious on these challenges, and we ask the leadership so that we get the way forward. On these challenges, let us take them serious, and I wish the top leadership was in so that they also get first-hand information to enable us get the way forward. It will not augur well for us to discuss. I support the report and plead that the House takes these matters seriously. Thank you.
Honorable members, there's nobody ready to debate. Can someone call the mover to reply? Okay, Honorable Sami.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I call the remover to reply? The mover.
Yes, Madam Deputy Speaker, Honorable Nereo Kumbo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and honorable members. First of all, I want to thank the honorable members for their positive contributions towards this report. And Madam Speaker, when I started, I said as a committee, our mandate here is to oversee the working of other committees. And so therefore our report is derived from the submitted reports from individual committees. And in the very words of Honorable Loiko Pete, without the reports of individual committees, we would not have come up with this report. And so ours is just to relay exactly what other committees have communicated. And maybe just to look at a few challenges, observations, and making recommendations that would therefore improve the workings of committees. Madam Speaker, there have been a number of concerns from members in regards to this report on why some committees did not indicate the number of their sittings. And as I've said, when they submitted their reports, it was submitted without indicating the number of their sittings, but they indicated how many reports they did submit. But we all know that each and every committee is allocated at least one sitting per week. So there's no committee that is not allocated a sitting. And as Kisumu Assembly, we have a way of allocating sittings just like, a very efficient way that ensures that all committees are catered for. So it's upon the committee chairs and membership to ensure that they sit. But otherwise, as a House Business Committee, we make sure that each committee is allocated an opportunity to sit and deliberate on the work before them. Madam Speaker and honorable members, on the issue of committee operating budgets, I think this is a substantive agenda that is coming up for debate tomorrow. We have a report on apportionment, and I believe this will be sufficiently tackled. So I want to beg that we don't preempt debate on that. Let us be patient and wait for it to come tomorrow for debate. That includes the issue of insufficient or inadequate funding to committees. Please allow me to defer it to tomorrow. Madam Speaker, my biggest concern, however, is on the businesses before committees. That is on table 7. Madam Speaker, there are a number of other reports that were presented here, discussed and adopted, but could not form part of this report because, as you see, the report was covering the period ending 30th June. So all the reports that were debated and adopted during the month of July did not form part of this report, but will be part of our next report, next half-yearly report. Madam Speaker, there's just a concern. Yes, we have a number of pending businesses before committees, but of interest is the overdue reports that we as liaison committee had discussed and agreed that the chairpersons and membership of those committees should ensure that those reports reach the committee of liaison for forwarding to House Business Committee for scheduling for debate immediately we back from recess. And Honorable and Madam Speaker, I believe that before end of business tomorrow, this report will have been forwarded for scheduling for debate. Number one of such pending ones, long overdue reports, Madam Speaker, is before the Committee of Finance and ICT. And this report, Madam Speaker, is the report on consideration of the annual reports and financial statements of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital for the financial year ended 30th June 2023. A report that was tabled before that committee, forwarded to that committee on the 15th November 2023, which was supposed to be discussed and reported back to the House within 21 days. Madam Speaker, to date, that report has not been forwarded. So I would like to call upon the chairperson of Finance and ICT and the general membership of that committee to ensure that that report is forwarded because it's a report of great importance. Another one is before the Committee of Sports, Culture, Gender and Youth Affairs. That is the report on the reasons for continued closure of Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground. That was presented before that committee on 24th May 2023. That was supposed to be looked at within 14 days. Madam Speaker, to date, that report has not been completed and forwarded. So the chairperson and the membership of that committee kindly ensure that that report reaches the Committee on Liaison before the end of business tomorrow, if possible. Madam Speaker, another report is before, two reports actually, are before the Committee on Water, Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change. That's the report on the matter of stormwater management and general environment cleanliness of Ahero town. That was tabled before that committee on 8th November 2022. November 2022. To date, that report has not been tabled. Madam Speaker, another one is the report on the matter of lack of cleanliness and unhygienic conditions in Sondu and Nyabondo markets in southeast Nyakach, which was also tabled before that committee on 9th November 2022. And to date, they've not given a report. Madam Speaker, they have other pending reports, like the matter of quarrying and steel activities in Awasionjiko is still pending before them, though not long overdue. But I'll urge the chair and membership to ensure that all the business pending before them are forwarded. Another committee that has a long overdue report is the Infrastructure, Energy and Public Works. That's the report on the emergency status of ongoing bridge, Ongoi Bridge along Chemelil. Chemelil Oduo Muhoroni Road in Chemelil Tamu Ward. That committee has another long overdue report. That's the report on the perennial road accidents claiming lives at Nyamasaria overpass at Kachok. Another one is the report on the matter of construction of Akode Road in Chemelil Tamu Muhoroni sub-county. So the membership of that committee kindly ensure that those reports are forwarded. Others are pending, others are in progress, Madam Speaker. So those overdue reports are the ones that carry the biggest concern, and I believe the House will, the committee membership and leadership will ensure that those reports are dispensed with. There's a concern, Madam Speaker and honorable members, concern by Honorable Pete that during serious reports like this, that the House leadership goes missing. I want to say that it may be true or not true to some extent. Madam Speaker, we know who the leadership is. I can see the deputy majority is here. The majority leader did send an apology in the morning. He was under the weather and was at the hospital. So for today, I want to excuse him. Honorable Madam Speaker, honorable members, another leadership is the office of the Speaker. And I'm glad to say that the entire speakers panel, led by myself, are here today. But it is a concern that needs to be addressed if the members feel so. If you so agree with Honorable Pete, and that message will be conveyed at the leadership meeting. On the issue of late responses from the executive, it is worth noting, Madam Speaker, that this has been a concern, and the Committee on Procedure and Rules went ahead to amend the standing orders to allow members of the executive, the CC members, to come to the assembly, to plenary, and answer directly to questions raised by members. I think this will reduce the incidences of committee chairs calling the executive members to come answer to certain questions, and then they take time. So I think this will be addressed. The standing orders had been discussed and adopted by the Procedure and Rules Committee, and I think in due course this will be a matter of the past. Otherwise, Madam Speaker and honorable members, I want to thank the honorable, this honorable House. But before I conclude, there was a concern that was raised by Honorable Kelvin on the mandate of the Committee on Implementation vis-a-vis the mandates of the committees, the sectoral committees. And I think the mandates of the sectoral committees are very clear, as stated in the second schedule of our standing orders, that is standing order number 193. And I want to say, as we all know, that all sectoral committees handle matters before them. A case in point, the matter that was talking about is the Committee on Public Works that looks into all matters relating to county transport, including county roads, street lighting, and all that. Madam Speaker, that committee, I know, knows its mandate, but the Committee on Implementation, I believe, also knows that they look into matters pertaining to resolutions of the House. So those are two distinctive roles, and therefore I don't see where there should be a confusion. But as a House, we all join hands in ensuring that there's effective running of the House to ensure that services are given to the electorate and development is given to our people. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I reply.
Honorable members, now that the motion on adoption of the report of Liaison Committee on consideration of a half-yearly reports of the committees for the period ended 30th June 2024 has been presented, seconded, and debated, I want to put a question. And I put that as many as the opinion that the motion on the adoption of the report I beg your pardon. Honorable members, now that the motion on adoption of the report election committee on consideration of half-yearly reports on the committee for the period ended 30th June 2024 has been presented, seconded, and debated, I want to put a question. And I put that as many as of the opinion that the motion of the adoption of the report of Liaison Committee on consideration of a half-yearly reports of committees for the period ended 30th June 2024 as presented and deliberated upon be adopted. As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion on adoption of the report of Liaison Committee on consideration of half-yearly reports on committee for the period ended 30 June 2024 has been adopted today, Thursday, 8th August 2024. Okay, and the motion on adoption of the report on Liaison Committee on consideration of the half-yearly reports of committee for the period ended 30th June 2024 has been adopted today, Wednesday, 8 August 2024 at 15:42 hours. And I want to direct that recommendations of this report and of the House debate before to the County Assembly service, be acted upon as recommended. Thank you. Next order.
Madam Speaker and honorable members, there is no any other business in the order paper.
Honorable members, there is no any other business to be transacted. Therefore, they have stand adjourned till tomorrow, Thursday, 8th August 2024 at 9:00 a.m. Okay, sorry, I'll come again. I'm sorry for that. Honorable members, we don't have any other business before us. Therefore, they have stand adjourned till tomorrow, Thursday, Thursday, 2:30 p.m.